Today, I'm counting down 10 absolutely insane 80s B-movies that most people have never even heard of. I've got a Terminator ripoff with an evil eel inside a woman's body, a monster snake destroying cities, and a movie banned for setting the most stuntmen on fire ever. Stick around because you will not believe how crazy these movies get. Lady Terminator starts as a straight-up Terminator ripoff, but pretty soon things go way off the rails. The villain here is the South Sea Queen, a mythical nymphomaniac with a killer eel hiding inside her body. She gets taken out 100 years ago, but she isn't done. She comes back by possessing an anthropologist, Barbara Ann Constable, who's never acted before. So suddenly she's in leather with a machine gun, storming around 1980s Jakarta. This movie delivers everything at full blast: gore, black magic, gunfights. It became an instant cult hit on VHS because nobody expected a cheap Terminator knockoff to go this hard. Critics trashed it for being wildly inept, but fans loved how completely unhinged it felt. Barbara Constable turned into a low-key cult icon. She did her own fight scenes thanks to her dance background, took real injuries from the explosive squibs, and she's always honest about how weird the whole thing felt and how much she laughed at the idea of being a gun-toting demon queen. Even she says, "I get why it became a cult film. Pure insanity, and honestly, that's the fun of it." Escape from the Bronx takes the basic idea of a dystopian city and throws out every bit of subtlety. A corrupt corporation decides to clean up the Bronx by wiping out the people living there. So gangs rise up and fight back, turning the streets into a war zone. Mark Gregory plays Trash, the main guy leading the resistance. He's teaming up with mercenaries, flamethrowers, whatever it takes to kidnap the evil company boss. The film turns into a barrage of fireballs, slow-mo stunts, and just endless mayhem. They set more stuntmen on fire than any movie before or since. The body count goes into the hundreds. It's the kind of movie where you just sit there and count how many people are on fire in a single scene. The film actually ran into real trouble in the UK because of that. The movie got banned for a while because of the sheer volume of people getting torched or shot point blank. Nobody would call this a good movie in the usual sense. Reviews called it ludicrously dumb, but that's exactly what made it fun. Mark Gregory, the lead, basically vanished after the 80s, which only made him more mysterious. Fans actually built websites just to track him down. Thunder of Gigantic Serpent makes almost zero sense, but that's half the appeal. It's 3 movies smashed together, part monster movie, part spy thriller, part weird family film. There's a terrorist named Solomon who steals a secret growth formula. Government agent Ted Fast is on his trail. Meanwhile, a little girl befriends a pet snake that grows giant after getting exposed to the formula. The story jumps from kid-friendly snake adventures to all-out kaiju destruction, then back to government agents that barely connect the plots. Everything is dubbed in gloriously bad English. Godfrey Ho, the infamous director known for stitching together random footage, outdoes himself here, cutting together an original Taiwanese monster movie with new scenes starring Western actors. The movie's real story is a curious one. It started as a straight Taiwanese creature feature, King of Snakes, then Ho got his hands on it and re-edited the whole thing. The final product is a complete mess, but for B-movie collectors, that's what makes it so good. This one goes for psychological intensity instead of camp. John Hillcoat directs, and musician Nick Cave co-writes and acts. The story shows a futuristic Australian prison that slowly collapses into total violence and lockdown. It's based on actual events and real prison research. What stands out is how the movie doesn't flinch from anything. Riots, stabbings, self-mutilation, guards beating down prisoners. Nick Cave pops in as Maynard, a psychotic inmate who hijacks the movie halfway through. He hurls the wildest insults you've ever heard and paints his cell with his own blood. The authenticity comes from the production. Real ex-cons and guards act alongside the pros, and the script borrows heavily from prison writings like Jack Henry Abbott's In the Belly of the Beast. When it came out, nobody knew what to make of it. It was too heavy for the mainstream, too arty for exploitation fans. But big directors like Bernardo Bertolucci and Wim Wenders took notice, and it built a cult reputation, especially among Nick Cave fans. Take a pinch of grease, a dash of Flash Gordon, a heap of MTV cheese, and you get Voyage of the Rock Aliens, a campy sci-fi musical that epitomizes 1980s kitsch. Aliens with big hair and silver jumpsuits fly around in a guitar-shaped spaceship looking for the source of rock and roll. They land in Spielberg, USA, where they meet Dee Dee, Pia Zadora, her jealous boyfriend Frankie, and a town full of cartoon characters. The movie goes for non-stop musical numbers. The aliens form a band, challenge Frankie's rockabilly gang, and every few minutes everyone drops what they're doing to break into song. The plot barely matters. There's a random serial killer with a chainsaw, a robot, and even a tentacled lake monster. Pia's then-husband, billionaire Meshulam Riklis, basically bankrolled the film as a showcase for her singing and acting. Late-night cable and VHS helped this one find an audience years later, and by the 2000s, people started to appreciate it as a camp classic. John Waters even called it a favorite and put Pia Zadora in his own movie, Hairspray. The Island comes from Peter Benchley, the guy behind Jaws, and stars Michael Caine, but the similarities to anything normal stop right there. The setup sounds halfway reasonable at first. Caine's a journalist trying to find out why so many boats go missing off the Florida coast. He takes his son along for the ride, expecting maybe a story about pirates in the Caribbean. What he finds instead is a lost colony of inbred 18th century pirates who are still alive, still raiding ships, and still completely out of their minds. These pirates capture Caine and his son. The movie swings from mystery thriller to straight-up exploitation. Blood everywhere, a pirate gets a hook right to the groin, and you get scenes that honestly feel like someone spliced Swiss Family Robinson with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Caine himself later joked he mostly took the job for a paid vacation in the Caribbean, and honestly it shows. The movie did earn a couple Razzie nominations, including Worst Actor for Caine and Worst Director for Michael Ritchie. This film tries to do American James Bond, but bigger and dumber at every turn. Plot kicks off when a rogue Soviet group steals a nuke and threatens to blow up Saudi Arabia's oil fields unless Israel gives up the West Bank. So the soldier puts together a team to stop them, and that's all the excuse the movie needs for an endless parade of action set pieces. We get ski chases and sniper shootouts in the Alps, infiltration missions in East Berlin, car chases in DC, and it all somehow ends up in a Montana missile silo. The logic here is simple. If there's a bigger way to blow things up, do it. Klaus Kinski appears as a Soviet agent, looking as deranged as ever. Director James Glickenhaus throws everything at the screen. Sniper rifles on skis, cars flipping, Tangerine Dream blasting on the soundtrack. The soldier goes so far over the top it almost stops being an action movie and just becomes pure spectacle. Maximum Overdrive is the only movie Stephen King ever directed, and after you see it, you'll understand why. The whole concept is this: what if every machine on Earth suddenly starts killing people? It all centers on a North Carolina truck stop where a crew of people gets trapped. Big rigs circle endlessly, demanding to be refueled and crushing anyone who tries to escape. The movie is full of ridiculous touches. Lawnmowers that chase teenagers, arcade games that fry their players, and a truck stop owner who conveniently keeps the stash of military rockets in his basement. You can tell King wanted to go full mayhem, and he absolutely does. King later admitted he was coked out of his mind the whole time, and the film's energy matches that. He called it a moron movie and never directed again. Still, Maximum Overdrive has become a cult classic, half because of how nuts it is, half because it's so thoroughly 80s. Out of all the late-era Shaw Brothers movies, this one probably delivers the most pure, unhinged fun. Two orphans out to avenge their parents, each searching for a magical sword. But the movie just takes that simple plot and turns it up as far as it goes. Two rival clans clash over not just the Holy Flame sword, but its evil twin as well. The movie keeps throwing new ideas at you. Kung Fu sorcerers shoot laser beams straight out of their palms. A mystic woman turns herself into a flying, flaming aura, and weapons go off like cartoon neon fireworks. There are Kung Fu ghosts in the mix too. The fights ignore gravity. People flying around the screen on colored streaks of light. You see magical artifacts everywhere. At one point, the main characters actually ride swords through the clouds. The choreography hits a kind of live-action anime level. Fighters vanish, multiply, or explode when they lose. People just call Holy Flame a fantastically over-the-top kung fu soap opera, and that fits. This one sets out to make the most violent, outrageous martial arts film Shaw Brothers ever produced. The premise lines up like a tournament. A Chinese martial arts school wins against a group of Japanese ninjas. Humiliated, the ninjas vow to get revenge, and they do it using element powers: gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. Every group of ninjas brings something new. Gold ninjas put on blinding armor and take out opponents with reflective shields. Wood ninjas blend in as trees and ambush from nowhere. You get the idea. Heroes get impaled, chopped up, split right down the middle, blood spraying everywhere in that bright red 80s way. There's a scene where a ninja throws a bladed hat and slices a man wide open. It's completely over the top, but somehow the madness makes it impossible to look away. Fans of martial arts cinema rank this as the ultimate in Shaw Brothers excess. If anyone asked for one movie that shows what this studio could do, Five Element Ninjas comes up every time. Even Tarantino talked about how much he loves this one just for its sheer audacity.